The hospital room smelled of antiseptic and sorrow, a combination that clung to me like a second skin. I stood at the edge of the bed, my hand resting lightly on my husband's, feeling the cold stiffness of his lifeless skin. "Goodbye, Ethan," I whispered, my voice trembling, barely audible. I couldn't bear the stillness that now defined him. He had been my life, my anchor, the man who made laughter effortless and nights peaceful. And now he was gone, leaving only silence behind. The doctors had been kind but distant, their faces carefully neutral, as if empathy was a uniform they wore out of obligation. They called it a sudden heart attack. Quick. Unpreventable. Natural. But my mind screamed otherwise. Ethan was only 32, fit, vibrant, full of life and plans. Just yesterday, he had insisted we finally take a weekend away, a small escape from the city's constant noise. Dragging my feet, I left the room, my head spinning and my chest tight with grief. The hallways were quiet, dimly lit, the hum of fluorescent lights pressing down on me. My tears blurred my vision, and for a moment I almost wished I could fall through the floor, disappear alongside the warmth and laughter that Ethan once brought. Then I heard it, a whisper. At first, I thought it was my imagination, the product of exhaustion and heartbreak. But the soft, hushed voices grew louder, unmistakable. Two nurses, speaking in tones so cautious it was obvious they didn't want to be overheard. "Did you see the report? It wasn't supposed to happen tonight." "Sure. Someone could hear you. She shouldn't find out yet." "But she's his wife, she'll ask questions." My breath caught. My stomach twisted into knots. They were speaking about Ethan. About him. My mind raced, trying to reconcile the words I heard with the image of the man I had just kissed goodbye. I pressed myself against the wall, straining to hear more. "You think she suspects?" "No. She still believes it was natural. But if she looks deeper, it could ruin everything." "Everything?" The words sent a chill down my spine. What did they mean? What everything? And why was I being kept in the dark, shielded from a truth I needed to know? The footsteps of another nurse echoed down the hall, and the voices cut off immediately. When I dared to peek, the nurses had vanished, leaving only the ghost of their conversation lingering in the sterile corridor. I stood there, frozen, my grief mingling with suspicion. For the first time, I realized that Ethan's death might not have been the simple tragedy I had been told. Something in this hospital, in the quiet whispers of the staff, suggested secrets. Dangerous ones. I wanted to run. To escape the hallways, the whispers, the oppressive weight of grief. But something stronger than fear pushed me forward, a determination to uncover the truth, no matter how painful it might be. I knew deep down that this night was only the beginning. The answers were here, hidden behind the doors of the hospital, in the words that had reached my ears. And I wouldn't stop until I discovered them. As I took a hesitant step forward, my heart heavy but resolute, I couldn't shake the feeling that every corridor, every shadow, every hushed word was a puzzle piece, a secret waiting for me to unravel. And somewhere in the silence, I knew that what I would find next could change everything. Sleep didn't come that night. Every corner of my apartment echoed with Ethan's laughter, his voice teasing me about leaving socks on the floor, about his obsession with morning coffee. Now those memories were ghosts, haunting me in the dark. The whispers I'd overheard in the hospital were lodged in my mind like a puzzle I couldn't solve. It wasn't supposed to happen tonight. She still thinks it was natural. Those words refused to leave me. They clawed at my thoughts, demanding answers. I couldn't ignore them. The next morning, my resolve hardened. I returned to the hospital, my grief mingling with determination. The hallways that had felt oppressive before now seemed almost menacing, the bright fluorescent lights casting long shadows across the polished floors. Every sound, a distant cough, a rolling cart, a soft footstep, made me flinch. I approached the reception desk, trying to steady my voice. "I need access to my husband's records," I said, though my hands shook. The receptionist gave me a polite but firm shake of the head. "Medical files are confidential. You'll need to submit a formal request, Mrs. Stella Carter," I corrected, my throat tight. "I'm his wife. I need to know the truth." She offered a sympathetic smile but remained unmoved. "I'm sorry. You'll have to wait." I left the desk, my patience fraying. If the truth wasn't coming to me, I would go to it myself. That's when I noticed one of the nurses from the previous night, the brunette with anxious eyes, heading toward a staff-only corridor, a clipboard clutched tightly in her hands. My instincts screamed at me, "Follow her." I moved cautiously, hugging the wall, careful not to make a sound. The nurse disappeared into a small records room, the door slightly ajar. My pulse raced. I pressed my ear to the edge of the door. "Did you see the results? This wasn't supposed to happen tonight. I told you, no one can know. Especially her. But she's the widow, if she asks questions?" I froze. Every word was a dagger to my chest. They were hiding something about Ethan. I gathered courage and stepped into the room. The nurse jumped, her eyes wide. "Mrs. Carter, you shouldn't be here." "I heard everything," I said, my voice steady despite the shaking in my hands. "Why? What happened to my husband?" Her face paled. You don't understand. This is not, you can't know." I stepped closer, my grief now burning into anger. "Tell me, was it really natural? Or was there something else?" For a moment, she seemed on the verge of confessing. Then she glanced at the door, fear flashing in her eyes. "I can't. It's not safe. For your sake. Leave this alone." "Leave it alone?" I repeated incredulously. "I can't. I won't. Not until I know the truth." She swallowed hard and looked away, her hands trembling. "Ward X. It's a restricted section. Your husband. He was transferred there." Transferred? My mind reeled. Ethan wasn't just a patient, he had been moved somewhere secret. Somewhere off limits. Before I could ask more, the door opened abruptly. Another nurse entered, glancing at me suspiciously. The brunette hurriedly hid the files. I realized I had seconds before I was discovered. I backed out of the room, clutching my coat to my chest, my heart pounding. Every step down the corridor was filled with questions. What is Ward X? Why was Ethan moved there? And why did they fear I would discover it? The whispers in the hallway had led me to the edge of a terrifying truth. A secret buried within the hospital, one that could explain everything, or destroy me entirely. And somewhere deep in my chest, I felt the first flicker of resolve. I would uncover this secret. I had to. Even if it meant stepping into the darkness where others feared to tread. The memory of the whispered words haunted me all day. Ward X. He was transferred there. I couldn't shake the feeling that the hospital itself was hiding something. A secret wrapped in cold steel and sterile white walls. My grief had shifted into determination. Ethan deserved more than a quiet, unexplained death. He deserved the truth. That evening, I returned to the hospital under the guise of visiting hours ending. The lobby was empty, the fluorescent lights humming softly above me. Every step echoed like a drumbeat, matching the rapid pulse in my chest. I made my way to the records area. I remembered the brunette nurse's nervous glance, the files she had hurriedly hidden. If Ward X was real, the proof had to be somewhere in those records. I slipped past a side door left slightly ajar, the same corridor I had trailed the nurse down before. My hands shook as I rifled through cabinets and drawers, scanning file after file. Most were mundane, charts, patient notes, routine transfers, until I found a thick folder labeled simply, X section confidential. My heart thumped wildly. This is it. Inside, I found Ethan's file. At first, it seemed ordinary, vital signs, medications, doctor's notes. But as I flipped through, a hidden section revealed something entirely different. Experimental treatments, procedures that seemed unethical. Dates and times lined up suspiciously close to the day of his death. And then I found it, a coded note in Ethan's handwriting, tucked between official documents. If anything happens, Ward X knows the truth. Follow the files. Trust no one. I swallowed hard. Ethan had suspected something. He had tried to leave clues. But why hadn't he told me? Why had he faced this alone? A sudden noise made me freeze, a chair scraping against the floor. My pulse surged. Someone was coming. I ducked behind a row of cabinets, the folder clutched tightly to my chest. A man in a dark suit appeared at the doorway. My stomach dropped. It was the same man I had glimpsed near the records room before. Tall, imposing, his presence as sharp and cold as a knife. He scanned the room quickly, then, spotting me, his eyes narrowed. "Mrs. Carter," he said, his voice smooth but threatening. "You shouldn't be here." "I'm leaving," I said, holding the folder like a shield. But even as the words left my lips, I knew it was a lie. I couldn't leave. "Not yet. The information you hold," he said, stepping closer, "is dangerous. For both of us if it leaks." I clenched my jaw, my grief transforming into anger. Dangerous? He was my husband. He didn't deserve this. And you're hiding the truth. The man paused, then, in a low voice, almost a warning, said, "Ward X isn't part of the official hospital. What happens there? It's not meant to be known. Your husband discovered more than he should have." More than he should have. I repeated. "What do you mean?" He took a step back, clearly trying to measure how much I already knew. "Some secrets," he said quietly, "are buried for a reason. Not everyone survives finding them." The words sent a chill down my spine. I didn't move, didn't speak. My mind raced with questions. What had Ethan found? Who else was involved? Could I even trust the file I was holding? Finally, he turned and walked away, disappearing down the hallway as quickly as he had come, leaving me shaking but resolute. Clutching Ethan's folder, I realized that the whispered words in the hallway, the coded note, and the hidden Ward X were all pieces of a puzzle. A puzzle that held the key to Ethan's death, and perhaps his survival. I knew, without a doubt, that the next step would take me even deeper into danger. Ward X awaited. And whatever secrets it held, they were Ethan's last message to me. I couldn't turn back. The hallway leading to Ward X was almost deserted. The fluorescent lights flickered intermittently, casting long, uncertain shadows across the polished floor. My heart pounded in my chest, matching the rhythm of my quickened steps. The folder I clutched contained Ethan's secrets, his warnings, and possibly his salvation. I reached the end of the corridor, where a nondescript metal door stood. No signs, no numbers, nothing to indicate what lay behind it, except a small, scratched plaque that faintly read, "X section." My hands trembled as I reached for the handle. It was locked. Of course it was. Secrets were never easy to uncover. I tried the knob. Nothing. My mind raced with possibilities. What if Ethan had been taken here? What if he had uncovered something dangerous? A faint noise made me freeze. Footsteps? Voices? My pulse spiked. I crouched slightly, pressing my ear against the cold metal door. "She's getting closer," a man's voice whispered. "Keep an eye on the cameras. No mistakes. Not now." Fear clawed at me. Someone was watching. Someone was guarding whatever lay behind this door. And I was unprepared. But I couldn't turn back. I wouldn't. I slid the folder into my bag and searched the area, desperate for a solution. Then, a glint caught my eye, a small maintenance panel next to the door. With careful hands, I pried it open. Inside were wires and a keypad. Technology, not locks, would be my way in, I thought, my mind racing. I didn't know the code, but I had the folder, and Ethan's notes might contain a hint. Hours of flipping through his scribbled messages in the folder finally revealed a pattern, a sequence hidden in the dates of his experimental procedures. My fingers trembled as I entered the code. The lock clicked. The door opened slowly, revealing a dim stairwell descending into darkness. A cold, sterile smell hit me immediately, chemicals, machines, and the faint metallic tang of fear. I inhaled sharply, steeling myself. Step by step, I descended. Each step echoed, each creak under my feet amplified my heartbeat. This was Ward X, the place that had hidden Ethan from me, the place that had carried secrets I wasn't sure I was ready to confront. At the bottom, the corridor branched into several rooms. Machines hummed softly, monitors blinked with digital life, and the faint light cast elongated shadows. I approached a slightly ajar door marked C12. Something inside pulled me forward. Inside the room, monitors displayed data I barely understood, lines of numbers and graphs. And then, I saw him. Ethan. Lying on a medical bed, hooked to machines, pale but breathing. Alive. My knees buckled, and I rushed to his side. Stella. His voice was weak but unmistakable. Relief flooded me. You found me. Tears streamed down my face. Ethan. You're alive. They told me you were dead. He tried to smile, but pain twisted his expression. It wasn't supposed to happen this way. I discovered something. Something dangerous. They can't let the truth out. My mind raced. What had Ethan uncovered? Who were they? And could I even trust anyone in this place? Suddenly, the door creaked. A shadow fell across the room. The man in the dark suit, the one from the records room, stood there. His presence filled the space with cold authority. You shouldn't have come here, he said, his voice low and dangerous. I gripped Ethan's hand. Stay back. I won't let you touch him. The man smiled faintly, almost amused. You don't understand the risks. Some truths are meant to be buried. But I had already decided. Whatever it took, I would protect Ethan. I would uncover the truth. And I wouldn't leave Ward X without answers. I didn't sleep that night. My mind raced with questions and fear. Ethan was alive, but alive under circumstances I couldn't yet fully understand. Ward X had revealed part of the truth, but shadows lingered, whispering of dangers I hadn't even begun to comprehend. The following day, a text arrived on my phone from an unknown number. Meet me at the abandoned cafe on 5th Street. 9 p.m. Come alone. The truth cannot wait. My pulse surged. I didn't know who this was, but something in my gut told me this was connected to Ethan, and the secrets that Ward X had been hiding. I arrived at the cafe as night fell. Its boarded windows and broken sign gave the impression of being long forgotten. A soft flicker of candlelight drew me toward a shadowed corner. You came, a woman's voice said. I turned to see her, mid-40s, sharp eyes, tired but alert. She was cautious, yet something in her demeanor told me she was trustworthy. Who are you? I asked, clutching my bag as if it could protect me. Names don't matter, she said, leaning closer. What matters is what I know about Ethan, and why he is in danger. I froze. Danger? He's alive. I saw him. I found him in Ward X. Her eyes softened briefly. Yes, he is alive, but Ward X isn't what anyone thinks. They experiment on people there, treatments that cross ethical lines. They wanted him to comply, but he questioned them. And that's why he's here, hidden, monitored. My heart pounded. But why? Why would they do this? He was just my husband. She swallowed. He discovered things that were never meant to be known. Names, documents, projects that could ruin powerful people if they became public. He became a threat because of his curiosity. I felt a chill. So, he's in danger? More than you realize, she said. Her voice dropped to a whisper. And there's something else. You can't trust everyone, not even those closest to you. They may seem helpful, but some of them work for Ward X too. I stared at her, panic rising. Who? Her lips pressed into a thin line. Michael. Your friend. He may not be loyal to Ethan. Not entirely. I only warn you because he asked questions too, and they don't forgive curiosity. I shook my head, disbelief and betrayal clashing inside me. Michael? Ethan's best friend. The woman nodded. Especially him. But I have something that can help you. Take it. She handed me a small envelope, sealed tightly. Inside were documents, names, locations, dates, and a map of Ward X's sublevels. At the bottom, a note in hurried handwriting. Tonight. C12. Midnight. Follow the path. Trust your instincts. Before I could ask more, a noise shattered the quiet, footsteps echoing outside. The woman grabbed my hand, her grip firm. They followed you. Go now. If they see you here, you'll regret it. I stumbled back, clutching the envelope as she shoved me toward the alley. Behind me, the sounds of pursuit grew closer, and the shadows seemed to stretch, hungry and relentless. Finally, I reached a corner where I could hide, pressing myself against the brick wall, gasping for air. I unfolded the envelope, scanning its contents. My heart raced. Ethan was alive. Dangerous experiments, secrets, and people I couldn't trust surrounded him. And tonight I had to go back, to Ward X, to C12, to uncover the full truth. I realized then that the path ahead was perilous, but I had no choice. The answers were waiting, and so was Ethan. And deep down I knew, everything would change tonight. Midnight. The dim lights of Ward X's sublevel flickered as I pressed the envelope against my chest, every step heavy with fear and anticipation. The corridors seemed endless, each shadow stretching like fingers trying to pull me back. But I couldn't stop. I had to find Ethan. C12, the room marked in the envelope, was just ahead. My fingers trembled as I pushed open the door, revealing the familiar hum of machines and the faint scent of antiseptic. And then I saw him, lying on the bed, hooked to monitors, pale but alive. Stella. His voice, weak but unmistakable, made my heart leap. Relief and fear collided within me. You found me. Tears blurred my vision as I rushed to his side. Ethan, I thought I lost you forever. They said you were dead. I almost was, he whispered, coughing lightly. Ward X, it's not just a hospital wing. It's a cover for experiments. I found out things they didn't want me to know. Names, data, projects that could ruin people if exposed. I clutched his hand, feeling the weight of his words. So all of this, your death, it was to keep you quiet? He nodded weakly. Yes. And if I had resisted more openly, they wouldn't have hesitated to finish it. A sudden sound made us both freeze, the heavy click of a door opening. The man in the dark suit appeared, his face impassive, exuding authority and menace. You shouldn't have come here, he said. His gaze swept over the room, stopping at Ethan. You're both taking a dangerous path. I gritted my teeth, feeling a surge of defiance. He's my husband. I won't leave without him. The man's expression didn't change. Some truths are meant to remain hidden. I looked at Ethan, determination blazing in my chest. He squeezed my hand, silently urging me forward. The folder, Stella, he whispered. The files, take them. If the world sees them, we can fight back. I reached for the documents, now aware of the stakes. This was bigger than us, bigger than Ward X, bigger than any individual fear. Secrets that had been buried for years were finally within reach. The man in the suit stepped closer, and I braced myself, ready to defend Ethan. But before he could act, alarms blared, shrill, deafening, red lights flashing through the corridors. What's happening? I shouted, panic rising. They triggered the alert, Ethan said, his voice strained. I set it up earlier. Security teams will arrive. This is our chance. I nodded, heart pounding, and helped Ethan sit up. He was weak, but alive. That was enough. We moved swiftly, following the map from the envelope. The alarms turned chaos into cover, and we slipped through the sublevels, past locked doors and darkened hallways. Finally, we reached an emergency exit. The cold night air hit my face, a sharp contrast to the sterile warmth of the wing. We were free. I collapsed against the brick wall outside, gasping, clutching Ethan to me. He was alive. The documents were safe. And the truth, dangerous, horrifying, and yet liberating, was finally in our hands. I looked up at the looming hospital, its shadowy presence now holding a different meaning. Ethan's ordeal, the experiments, the secrecy, it was all real. And while the danger hadn't entirely vanished, we had each other, and we had the power to expose the truth. Ethan whispered, his voice tired but steady, Stella, thank you. I don't know if I could have survived this without you. I pressed my forehead to his, tears streaming freely. We'll survive it together. No one will take you from me again. And as we watched the first faint light of dawn touch the city skyline, I realized that the darkness of Ward X had not broken us. It had revealed the strength we didn't know we had, and the courage to fight for truth, for love, and for each other. Tonight, we were free. But the story of Ward X, and the secrets it held, was only just beginning.